Beautiful. Oh, even better. Okay, excellent. I'm still so in love with your background with all of your books. I think that
They're
during the,
real.
are they some of your favorites, or are they what you're reading right now? What's going on behind you, Celestine?
What is collection of books that we've dragged all over New York City and that we've had since graduate school and second graduate school. So it's a very well loved collection of books that we've had for as long as we've been together. So half of them are paperbacks, romantic paperbacks, half of them mystery of thrillers on his part, and then together instructional how-to books. So that's for all the backgrounds. It's a lot of books.
I love that so much. The instructional how-to books on combining your mutual love of other books.
Yes, ma'am.
I love it. Well, Celestine, let's take a step back and introduce you to our readers this evening. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started writing?
Oh my gosh.
I know, big questions.
Well, I'm a Jersey Shore girl. I was raised at the Jersey Shore, currently living in New York. I started writing from a little age. I remember the first story I wrote was like a pumpkin fairy tale on an index card. It was like a kindergarten assignment. Oh yeah.
How
and I was just like, I'm going to write this story. And so from then on, I just loved the written word. And then when I was like third grade, I won like second place in a poetry contest. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a star. And that was kind of it for me. I was like, yes.
That's
and
right.
So I've just always been writing. Always had a notebook, too many notebooks, buying notebooks. It's too pretty to write in. I have to get another notebook to write in. So I've just been writing. I just love to read, to write. I've had a library card since I could write my name. I blame my mother for that. Yes. As soon as I could write my name in the New York Public Library system, you can go. I was like 2 or 3 at the time. She was like, write your name. I wrote my name. She's like, you have a library card. And then when we moved to New Jersey, same thing. I was 4 at that time. She was like, okay, write your name. Wrote my name, had another library card.
Love it.
So, I love to read and write. How I got started writing. I wanted to actually start to get published about 19. I went to Rutgers University, go RU, and I entered a contest on a whim. It was a love story, and I won the contest, and I was just, oh my God, it's so amazing. And so I've just been writing and honing my craft over the last well over 15 years at this point, until eventually I was like, you know what, I want to write love stories for real, make a go at it. So that's where, the beginning started.
I love that so much. So what was it about love stories that just caught you?
Oh my goodness. I think it was when I was in high school. There was a secondhand bookstore that was a few blocks away from our school, and they had a sale. They had a discount sale where for $2 you could get 10 of the Harley Quinn Desire.
Oh yeah.
And it was like early 2000s, mid-aughts. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it was the best thing ever. I would come home, half my book bag would be filled with my school books, and the other half will be filled with the Harley Quinns. And my mom would be like, you're reading? I love it. Go ahead and enjoy yourself. Because she read those too. She loved them. Oh yeah, she loved them too as well. So it was definitely seeing my mom read them and I read them. So it was just like love stories and romance. I did go to graduate school to be kind of like a serious writer, but then I would find myself writing love stories while I was trying to write that like capital L literature story. And I was just like, well, what if they fell in love? Yes, they're staring at a bowl of fruit and contemplating their relationship, but what if they fell in love? And
wow, looking at that fruit.
Exactly. See, synergy. So I decided, I was like, I'm going to write love stories. And then, that's just how it happened, really.
Yeah. I love that so much. I just love also the bond between you and your mom and reading together. And it sounds like it started so young for you guys. Do you still share books between the two of you?
Yes, we do. She asked, so what are you reading now? And I'm reading this book. And it's, oh, do you like it? Or do you know that person? if you know
Mhm.
that person, I'll read their book. And I was like, I know of them. So
That's so cute.
oh yeah, she's really, really very enthusiastic and very proud. She's like, I'm so proud of you. I'm telling all
Mhm.
my friends. I'm like, not everybody's gonna read. I'll give it to them for Christmas. I was like, okay, thank you, Mom.
I
But
was
yeah,
going to say, with your debut novel, I bet your mom was probably like one of your loudest supporters with this book.
absolutely, she was. And I'm very thankful to have the support. And my mom, my aunt, my husband, my friends, like one of my really good colleagues, we used to work together. She texts me, she's like, I love your book. It's amazing. Like I see pieces of yourself in it. And I'm just like, oh, thank you so much.
Oh.
I appreciate that because it means a lot when people say, like, I can see you in this book. I know that
Mhm.
you wrote this book because it's just like you are, quirky, silly, fun. And I was like, I'm glad. I'm glad that people
Yeah.
are seeing that. So yeah.
I love that. Well, that's a great segue for us to jump right into witchful thinking and talking about what inspired it. And also like, how did Lucy and Alex's love story come to you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was inspired because I've always loved witches. I've always loved
Mhm.
witches. Like I
Witches
remember
are the
what
best.
they are the best, powerful women. Just like, listen, let me do magic. Let me make like here's a love spell. Here's this,
Mhm.
here's that.
Yep.
So I've always loved witches. And I remember, like I said, the connection with Mom, us watching Practical Magic whenever it came on HBO. My
How
mom being
cute.
like, Practical Magic is on. Sit down, sit down. We would just sit and watch it and it would just be automatic. And of course, me watching Charmed when I was a teenager on Sunday nights, 8 o'clock, I would watch
Mhm.
it. WB and then go to school the next day and be like, oh my gosh, did you see what happened? And, trying to write my own terrible Charmed fan fiction. It's
We've
like
all been there.
absolutely, oh yeah, I love it. I love fan fiction. The story came about when I noticed, and the older I got, the more I noticed that there was a lack of witches of color, even though in my own family, we we have our superstitions, we have our
Mhm.
traditions, we have what I like to call everyday magic, where my mom's like, okay, you need to make sure that you don't, if you're going to leave the house, make sure you have this oil on, or if you're going to leave the house, make sure you do have this crystal around the house, or what was really
Incredible.
good, if you have this type of tea. And so I knew that we had that in our family, but I didn't see that in pop culture. it,
Yeah.
it was there, but I didn't see it. And I was like, you know what? I know it's there, but I want to add my voice to that conversation. So that's why I started coming up with, these sisters. At first it was two, and then I realized I needed three. So I added
Mhm.
three, and they're all based off of my mom and her sisters, my aunts. And so I started developing the idea of these three sisters. And I was like, well, they could live in a seaside town because a lot of the witches were like in Boston and they were up, Salem, and they were in like
Mhm.
gullies and hollows. And I was like, well, I think a seaside town would be nice. We don't get many seaside towns. So
Yeah, the witches are like traveling. They're going other
yes.
places. They're not just in New England,
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. There are witches all over the place. I mean,
right?
Appalachian. I mean,
Mhm.
wherever there's a place where there's a possibility for natural magic, there's going to be witches, or there's going to be people who feel like they can draw strength or they can draw magic from that area. So it's just
Mhm.
like, all right, let me go ahead and get my Jersey Shore witches, and then that was it, Jersey Shore witches. So it's like, all right, I got that.
I
So,
love it.
yeah, that's how it came about. And Alex and Lucy, I mean, if I love witches, I love merfolk because I love the ocean. Love being by the ocean and going on the beach and collecting seashells. And trust me, I am hyped for anything. A Little Mermaid, Little Mermaid, yes, give me Little
Mhm.
Mermaid. But I was like, we don't see mermen. I said, what about mermen? It's like have a little
Yeah.
fun with that. So that's where the story came about. I was just like wanted a little fun, adorable kind of story. And also watching seasons of Good Witch, watch way too much Good Witch. And I was just like, but what if it's sexy? It's just like,
Exactly. A little more smooching, That's what we need.
yes. So yeah, that's how the story came about. Just kind of me collecting these little like what ifs. I was like, what if Jersey Shore witches? What if they're
Mhm.
witches of color? What if there was a merman? And just answering those what ifs and then coming up with the story.
Yeah. And I love too that the book is more in like the film and TV world, we would call it blue skies. Like it's more just fun. It's a word you used and jovial, and like it's not like dark sad witches. And I thought that that is so just refreshing, because we haven't had that in romantic comedies and romances in quite some time. So for you to be on the beginning of a trend of that, was that like exciting for you? Was that appealing for you to just kind of go with a more fun approach to it?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was, because people were writing witches, and I was just like, I don't want a curse in the
Hmm.
story. If the curse is going to come about in any of the books, I wanted to be kind of fun. I wanted to be flighty. I was just like, I need something, because as I was writing the book and I was editing the book, I'm like, I need this to be fun. I know people
Yeah.
need fun, especially editing it during the height of the pandemic, to the height of, like lockdown. And then afterwards, I was like, I want something fun. I want something to be like, this was adorable.
Hmm.
Great. I'm glad that this book could be adorable for you. I'm glad this book could be fun for you. I wanted kind of just like it to be a light reading. Just like this was, I think one person said that, oh, this feels like a glass of like a Bellini, like a peach Bellini, just something delicious, bubbly, and light.
Hmm.
I wanted that. And so I'm glad that I could at least be part of that kind of like, let's put some sprinkle and glitter and some like cotton candy on this
Hmm.
rom-com. I just wanted to do that.
I love that. And another also cool thing about the book was that Freya Grove is a world, is like there's magic is just accepted. People
Yeah.
are cool with it. It's not a big deal. And I love for you to talk a little bit about that, but then also to talk about magical worlds that inspired you, or maybe that you also didn't want to emulate.
Oh my goodness. Very good question. Thank you.
Hmm.
I think my inspiration, like I said, was Good Witch. They have the I'm trying to remember, Middletown. They have that area where it's just like it's kind of mystical, kind of fun. There's a lot of sense of history behind
Hmm.
it. I wanted to make sure that Freya Grove, because I did, thank you, University of Rutgers Press, is a book called The Jersey Shore. I read that book, I annotated the book, and I came to find out that a lot of people who settled by the Jersey Shore were looking for some type of connection to the land.
Incredible.
And they wanted to, like, either it was because of the spiritualism movement that was going on at that time, but they felt like they wanted to make a place where they would feel safe, they would feel contented, they would be happy. So I
Hmm.
wanted Freya Grove to have that type of feeling where this is a place where people like magic is accepted, people are accepted. There's just this sense of strong community. It's a magical community, but it's still a strong community.
Hmm.
And there's definitely that feeling of, when I go home, people know me. Like they're like, oh, you're so and so's daughter. Oh, you're so and so's sister. It's so and so's these. I'm like, okay. It can be like
Hmm.
it can be a little like very close, but then it can be like, okay, I know someone who knows someone, or someone who knows my family. So that was kind of where the inspiration came from. The emulation, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, because when you think about magical towns, it's either it leans like all the way to the left, where it's kind of, you get Mystic Falls from Vampire Diaries, where just random creatures just show up, and it's just like, okay, all right, there's something going on here. Or you have like Once Upon a Time, where you have Storybrooke, where it's kind of like magic sometimes works and sometimes is this, where you kind of have to find the balance where like, what are the rules? And I know that when I was building the world, I had to make sure that there was a rules. Like, why does this place have magic? Well, it has to do with the
Hmm.
location. It is a threshold. And for those who practice magic or are interested in magic, a threshold is a place where there's immense amount of power. It's literally where the land meets the ocean. And because it's a threshold, the magical creatures who live in that area tap into the land, and they tap into the herbs, and they tap into the plants, and they tap into the trees and everything. And definitely in book 2, which I'm working on literally right now, we start to understand like, well, what else makes Freya grow important, and also doing a lot of research for the Jersey Shore, and
Hmm.
realizing like, wow, so this is why certain plants grow here, or why certain plants don't grow here. And so it's been very interesting to do all that and to learn the topography of the land.
Well, and that's, before we jump into our fresh fiction facts section, I'd love to hear a little bit about what readers can expect from you next.
Oh my gosh, book 2.
Mhm.
Book 2, writing book 2, and just sitting here and being like, I'm just going back to that, pressing that adorable button. Adorable, sweet, fun, light
Love it.
button. Yeah, just that's what I'm working on. And then looking forward to book 3 and trying to establish that, because I want to make sure that I just, keep up the quality of writing, because like I said, readers have been absolutely wonderful. Readers, reviewers, everyone's been fantastic, and I want to write this book for y'all and be like, here's a book sealed with a kiss.
I love it, and we will gladly accept it.
Thank you.
Well, Celestine, this next portion, this is just these fun little fresh fiction fact questions. I'm just kind of throw them out to you however you feel like answering them, but nothing too serious.
Okay.
All right. What is your favorite genre to read?
Oh, of course, romance.
Mhm.
Outside of romance, not nonfiction. Nonfiction.
Love
It's
it.
like,
What is one genre that you never want to read again?
see, I try everything once. I have a pretty open mind.
Mhm.
Never want to read again. I have trouble sometimes with memoir.
Oh, okay.
It depends, because if I'm just reading it, no. If I'm listening to it, audiobook, absolutely, because I have to hear their voice.
Mhm.
I have to hear their voice, because then it hits differently.
Yeah.
Like Dave Grohl, the storyteller, absolutely changed how I felt about memoir, because he does such a good job blending his love of music with writing and his just natural personal like storytelling style. So I will say that. So, but memoir I have trouble with.
Yeah, that's fair. That's awesome. That was such a good memoir too. I love that book. What is your favorite time of day to write?
Middle of the night. Early morning, middle of the night, because I'm a new-ish mom. It's been over a year, but it still feels
Still
new.
new.
Yeah, it's still new. So I like waking up in the early morning when she's asleep, so that I can get some work done. And then while I'm playing around with her, like being able to scribble down on a note card, and then when she's asleep again, then I can go back to it. Yeah.
I love that. What is your favorite time of day to read?
Oh my gosh, like before bed. Just to bring me down from the day. Either just like rereading, because like I said, I heard someone say Jennifer Crusie, absolutely lovely, adore her. I love rereading her kind of rom-coms. So yeah, before I go to bed, just because they said it's good to, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling like overwhelmed, you read half an hour before bed. No electronics, get a book out, read before bed, and it'll help like bring you down.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that. What is one new hobby or practice that you've picked up recently?
Oh my gosh, there's a whole bunch. I am a planner person. If anybody's a planner person, if you do like, oh yes, especially after the pandemic, it's been good trying to sit down with a planner and just doing it by month. Like, oh, look what I have forward to do this month. Like this month, it's going grocery shopping for Thanksgiving. Yay! So then also the New York City Marathon, that helps me, because every year I would forget. I'm like, why is it so hard to get around? New York City Marathon. Now it's right on my planner.
Love it.
There you go. So planning. I said planner.
You're like 2022. I'm not going to forget you this time.
Finally.
I love it. Who are some of you've mentioned a few, you said Charmed and The Good Witch, but do you have any other favorite witches in pop culture?
Oh my gosh. So many witches. Well, of course, my teen witch, Robin Lively, of course, start off with her. Practical Magic Witches, of course. Charmed, OG Charmed, new Charmed. I watched it, but I hadn't seen enough of it. I was just like, when are they airing it? And also I was just like, couldn't find it streaming. Then it was on streaming, but Charmed Witches, always love Charmed Witches. Um, Bonnie from the Vampire Diaries. I was just like, oh my goodness, because I watched the first season of the Vampire Diaries. I was like, little bit of that age bracket, but I still enjoyed seeing Bonnie Bennett. Any other witches? Yeah, no, those are like my top witches right now. Willow from Buffy. You know what? I will say this. Thank you, Jones. I enjoyed Willow. I liked the way that Willow came to her power, and also I love Tara. When they got rid of Tara, I was it flames on the side of my face, everything. I'm just like, why? But absolutely lovely. And also, what I liked about Willow's storyline was that there was consequences to her magic. Which,
Yes.
you know, there's always consequence to magic, especially if you're doing magic and the magic is done with not the best intentions. There always has to be a consequence, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And so that's what I will say. Thank you for that. Willow from Buffy. Yes, I will say I enjoyed Willow. Didn't like the storyline that she was given, but I appreciate like the fact that they gave her something to do, and it was a very good character moment for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And they really well-rounded her magic, I feel.
Yes.
I've been rewatching Buffy recently because it's been on like whatever in between the cable channel. And I'm like, I miss Buffy. It doesn't hold up, but I love it so much. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, some episodes are absolutely classics. Like they're just like very good. And some episodes I'm like, skip, because my husband's a huge Buffy fan, and we were both Buffy fans, and we were just like, that's how one of the reasons why we vibe so well. And then now looking back, it's just like, okay.
Yeah. I keep telling myself now, I'm like, well, Angel's really good. I wasn't like mature enough to like Angel when it first came out, and now I really like it.
I was teased mercilessly, like, you like Angel? Yes, I liked Angel. I felt it was a very good, like the first
such a good show.
Really good. And then they just like went off the rails, and I'm like, I'm gonna stick with this for a while. And then I stopped watching, and then the last season was pretty good. And then the final episode was yes.
Yeah. So yeah. I still like that last episode still lives in my head rent free, because I'm like, are we never gonna get any solutions? I know that it's a comic book, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same, because sometimes, because the comic book, I followed it from the comic book from the series to the comic book, but then some comic book shops didn't carry it, and then some comic book shops were like, we don't carry that. I'm like, how are you gonna find it? And then you miss out on a couple of episodes, and you like, what's happening?
Move on with your life. Yep.
Right.
The troubles. Buffy and Angel fans. It's hard for us out here.
Yes.
How did you celebrate your first release?
That's a good question. I ordered Thai food.
Yes.
I ordered Thai food. And I had a reading that day. I got flowers from my friends and my agent, and there's a whole bunch of alcohol and brownies. So that was very nice, and just people like very excited, like, yay, your book is out. And I was like, yay. So it was very fun, very nice, and I was like, felt the love. So it was a very good day.
You should feel the love. It's very important to celebrate big milestones like that.
I mean, it's been it's been crazy. Now it's just like, I have to write another one. I've done this before. Yes. Yeah. Because I used to be like, how do you forget what people would write on Twitter? Now it's like, oh my gosh, I see how people, because you kind of like, you put like, okay, this was book 1 and now it's book 2, but then it's like, well, what did I write in book 1? Yeah, I gotta reread my own book. So yeah.
And it's so hard too, because it's like you are thinking about what you're going to be writing about, maybe 3 books from now, and then still have to be grounded in what you're working on currently.
And that's it. That's the hard part, because I said, I know there are threads, because I keep on people like, I loved your book. It was great. I've got some questions. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, hopefully I answered them in book 2. I was like, well, what is, because I know there's one big thread that I definitely am going to answer. And like I said, the first page, it will be answered. That's all I'm going to say, because I'm pretty sure
that's good.
My editor will karate chop me in the neck if I say anything else. But yeah, no, absolutely. There are things that I do. So because people are like, well, what happened? What happened? I said, promise, I am not going to wait till halfway through the book to explain to you what happens. But first page, you're going to know.
I love
Oh
it.
my, yeah. Oh,
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to turn this over to our readers to ask you some follow-up questions. But before I do that, how can readers stay in touch with you and find out more about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Jellybean Ray. That's my handle. It says Celestine Martin is editing book 2. That's that. You can also find my website, which I will be updating this month, celestinemartin.com. And what else? Oh, I have Instagram, Celestine Martin author. That's my Instagram. So you can find me up. So yeah. Awesome. So I will put those handles in the chat.
Perfect. And we'll put it on the video as well when we put it up on YouTube. Celestine, thank you so much. And we really appreciate you sticking around for a few more minutes to answer questions from our readers.
Okay. Yes, please. Let me see the question.